What's up, my people? What's going on? We're doing a live UFC 249 boom breakdown here. Um, as you can see, I'm using a different mic here. I'm hoping that it's working crystal clear because I have two different mics. I have the Blue Yeti mic, and then I also have this blue mic, and I use this for my music. It's a little bit easier to see me, so I figure use this mic for this breakdown. But yeah, nonetheless, we'll get right into the card. We're gonna make some full predictions, fight picks, and then we'll get to some fan questions towards the end as well. If you guys have any questions, you can leave them in the comment section. We'll get to those also. And so here we go. Um, UFC 249 is taking place in Jacksonville, as well as the next three UFC cards. I've been seeing a couple people get tested for the COVID with the swab up the nose, and I gotta say, I'm more scared for that than I am for my own fight coming up. Next Wednesday. So I'm hoping that's close my eyes nice and quick, 4 seconds, get that shit out of my nose, and let's get it moving. But yeah, that doesn't look too fun to me. Nonetheless, looks like the UFC is doing a good job at keeping things fairly safe and taking necessary precautions to make sure that the fight card runs smooth and keeps on keeping on because they got to keep this business going. And people are going to be happy to get entertainment and see fights during this pandemic and during this time of crisis. For a lot of people, I think the UFC is looking at it like some kind of revival for people who are maybe depressed and stuck home and don't really have nothing to do. And now they got a cool, really exciting event to look forward to. So cheers to that. We got the Boomachino in house. My man Michael Lehrer. Shout outs to him. He's a comedian. He's a guy who is dealing with Lou Gehrig's disease. He's in a wheelchair. His body is essentially, running away from him, but he keeps a great attitude, and he's someone I look up to just because he's chasing his dreams, he's doing his thing, and but he's also facing a lot of struggle in life, a lot worse than most of us. So hats off to that guy. Getting into the card, we got the early this card is amazing. I mean, the early prelims are like could be, you know, a regular prelim, and even some of these could be on a main card. Um, we got Ryan Spann versus Sam Alvey. Sam Alvey's a veteran. He's been in the UFC for many years, fought a lot of good guys, and he's one of those guys that's surprisingly good backing up, slowing the fight down. He really doesn't like to fight at too high of a pace, but once you get close and in that danger zone with Sam Alvey, he's throwing big right and left hooks, big straight left hands. He's got that southpaw style. And he's always got knockout power, but he also kind of fades. He leaves his mouth open. If you notice, he has that real big mouthpiece. I noticed where his jaw's almost like open and loose, and that's dangerous. You get clipped with an open jaw. You can get hurt. Ryan Spann packs big power as well. He's one of those highly touted prospects coming out of um, that gym in Texas that's doing really well. The name is slipping me. Maybe you guys could help me out. Safe Sayud. Safe Sayud's the coach. I forget the name of the gym, but they're doing big things over there. And Ryan Spann's part of that group. And Ryan Spann's coming off of the Contender Series, I believe, where he might have lost to Carl Robertson on the Contender Series. But now he's on a tear, and he's a young guy and he's a hungry guy. And he's the fresher guy. I feel like he has that better gas tank. He's cool, calm, collected in there. Sam Alvey's going to be backing up and looking for big hooks. He's kind of predictable, and I could see Ryan Spann coming away with a knockout win in this fight. Probably at least into the second round. I think Sam Alvey will be able to avoid anything big early on, but as he starts to get tired and things start to pick up, I think Ryan Spann's going to land something big. I'm going to go at Ryan Spann by KO in the later rounds, second or third. Moving up, we got Bryce Mitchell, Thug Nasty versus Charles Rosa. Man, what a good fight here. Charles Rosa, obviously the veteran, but Bryce Mitchell has a lot of hype behind him. He's got that exciting style where he's kind of reckless, and he has the second only submission by Twister in the UFC history. So that was really exciting to see. Obviously, that saying, he's one of those guys that's willing to take risks and do, flashy things and go for things that, not everybody's willing to go for. So that's a dangerous guy. Charles Rosa, though, high level black belt. And I believe he has somewhat of like a taekwondo background or karate type style. He moves different on the feet. He's definitely going to have the striking advantage in this fight. But Bryce Mitchell's going to have that young, gritty, athletic, hungry, uh, I don't know, like that new like lion type of style where like he's just getting in the UFC doing big things and he's hungry for that. And Charles Rosa, coming off a long layoff, right? I mean, he was, and then he fought Manny Bermudez and had that very impressive victory over him. I mean, nobody really submits Bermudez. Bermudez has been submitting everybody. So, Charles Rosa showed that he's still here to stay. He's still dangerous even after a long layoff, and he's still got finishing abilities and he's really good off his back. And you know, if Bryce Mitchell bum rushes him and gets too overzealous, he can get caught. Charles Rosa has really good kicks. He's really unorthodox on the feet. Believe he's able to switch stances and have pretty equal, success on both sides. So Bryce Mitchell's got to watch out for that. But I'm gonna go with the young, hungry guy. I'm gonna go with Bryce Mitchell. I think it's gonna be a war. I think it's gonna be back and forth. I think Bryce Mitchell's gonna have to get in Charles Rose's face, close that distance. Don't allow him to settle into his striking style. And if the fight goes to the ground, it's gonna be interesting, because I think Charles Rosa has maybe a little bit more of a higher level of jujitsu, but Bryce Mitchell is able to submit anybody, it seems. So it's gonna be interesting to see where things go on the floor with that. But I got Bryce Mitchell. I think he'll win decision. I think he'll just show a little bit more volume, a little bit more grittiness. He'll bring the fight to Charles Rosa. He'll be pressuring Rosa back. I feel he'll probably be throwing a little bit more volume, and I think that's how he'll get it done. We got Vincent Luque versus Nico Price. Now, this is a rematch. And man, with Nico Price, this is a guy that he has some weird techniques that he uses and he finishes guys crazy. I mean, he doesn't look the most technical, he doesn't look the most pretty, but he gets it done. I mean, with the way he finished Randy Brown was like unheard of, where he had like almost like somewhat of a triangle attempt, but Randy Brown was kind of sideways. He was almost in like a underhook sweep position with his legs, but he started hammer fisting him, and he KOs him with like these hammer fists off of his back. You never see that, so it's like you got to watch out for this guy. He's dangerous everywhere. But Vincent Luque is a really technical striker. He's got great Muay Thai. His last fight against Stephen Thompson didn't go great, but he showed great durability in that fight. Obviously, could take a punch. He stays in there for the full 3 rounds. He's dangerous, and I'm gonna give the edge to Luque in this fight, mostly because of his technique, and because of how durable he is. I think he's gonna be able to stay in the fight. I think he's gonna be able to land the more precise shots because of his technique and his calmness on the feet. He's very defensively sound too with his slips and his blocking with his hands up and stuff like that. He keeps his hands fairly tucked to his eye sockets here. Um, I see Luque coming out and just kind of outpointing Nico Price. Maybe Nico Price, he's going to have to make the fight get dirty. He's going to have to do some crazy shit and throw Luque off. But I think Luque is going to keep sound in there. He's going to keep collected, and he's going to get the job done by decision. I think he'll be able to outpoint and outstrike Nico Price. I don't see the fight necessarily going to the ground. Although I think Luque is good enough to avoid submissions on the ground, I don't really see anybody enforcing the wrestling. So, um, moving on to the prelims, Uriah Hall versus Ronaldo Souza. Man, Ronaldo Jacare is coming back down to middleweight. Excuse me. Uriah Hall's always got that dangerous striking style, and we know that Jacare is gonna need to take this fight to the ground to have big success. Uriah Hall, the main thing's the mental game. He's talked about it. He doesn't like hurting people. He shows up sometimes and just kind of has that cowboy Cerrone effect where he's there for the big fight, but he's not there, mentally. He's not feeling it. He's not fired up. He's not focused. And you know, who knows if he's fixed all of that? If he has, I think this is a very dangerous fight for Jacare because Jacare has fallen in love with striking. He's got good boxing, but I think Uriah Hall is able to keep him at bay with the kicks. He's got flashy spinning techniques. He's way more dangerous on the feet than Jacare, and I think obviously this is one of those fights where it's, grappler versus striker, and who's going to keep the fight where they want it, who's going to implement their game plan. Who's going to win the fight. If Jacare could take Uriah down, he's leaps and bounds above him on the ground. I think he'll have great success down there if that's the case. But will he be able to take Uriah Hall down? I think Uriah Hall's a good enough athlete. He has great hips. I think it's going to be hard to take him down. He's a younger athlete. He's taken way less damage in the UFC and in his career. So I'm gonna go with Uriah Hall. With I don't know what the odds are on this fight, but I'm gonna go with Uriah Hall by decision. I think he'll outpoint him on the feet. I think he'll keep the fight up there. I think he'll avoid submissions or anything like that. Jacare, is great on the ground, but wrestling wise, I think he might have a little trouble taking Uriah down. So going Hall by decision. Esparza versus Waterson. This is a great fight in the women's strawweight division. Michelle Waterson is really good at mixing things up. Carla Esparza comes out stoic. She has great wrestling and she's gritty and she has a lot of tenacity. But Michelle Waterson, I feel like, is more dynamic. She has more abilities to, utilize throws and her jujitsu for passing game and her submission game is a little bit more dynamic. Carla Esparza is not known for too many submissions or anything. She wins a lot of decisions, but she has that grittiness and that wrestling to do so, to dictate where the fight goes and how the fight plays out. Esparza's striking, though, has gotten a lot better. In her last fight, she displayed a lot better striking than previous. And I think that's going to help her in this fight with Michelle Waterson to gain respect and to land takedowns. Sometimes you're the better wrestler, but it takes a lot of striking to end up, having success in the wrestling department. If you can get the respect of someone on the feet, sometimes that means, they're not expecting that shot, or maybe your strikes land first and then your shot comes easier because they're worried about that power shot or whatnot. So I think, Carla Esparza is doing a better job at that. But I think Michelle Waterson's movement and her karate hottie style with the kicks and the flashiness is going to be a problem for Carla. I think over time in the fight, Carla is going to have issues with the striking. I think Michelle will be better there. Not by much, but a little bit more dynamic, a little bit better with the kicking. If Carla Esparza can turn this into a grappling fight with a lot of wrestling and end up on top and tiring out Michelle Waterson, she could have a lot of success. Um, you know, I'm gonna go with the upset here. I think Carla Esparza is the favorite here, but I'm gonna go with Michelle Waterson. I think she's gonna get the job done by decision. Alexei Olynyk versus Fabricio Verdum. Man, Verdum's been out for a long time. I think that was a USADA thing, but man, he's dangerous on the feet, but obviously one of the best heavyweights of all time as far as grappling goes. And Alexei Olynyk has those weird chokes where you could be mounting him and he could still choke you. So you got to watch out for that. He has some weird unorthodox striking where he kind of like clinches up and throws these weird uppercuts. I think this is a bad matchup for Olynyk. To fight a guy like Fabricio Verdum who has you know some of the best jujitsu in the world, where that's where Olynyk, wins a lot of his fights. So, good luck taking Fabricio down and submitting Fabricio. It's like, what are you going to do with this guy? Now you got to strike with him. And I even give the striking edge to Verdum. Like, he's come out and thrown jumping side kicks and hurt guys like Travis Brown, and we just don't know where he is though. He's been, where is he at right now in his career? He's been out for quite some time. Olynyk's been a lot more active. So that could play a role. But I think Fabricio Verdum is just altogether on a different level. I think he's going to get the job done. I think he might even submit Olynyk. This fight might hit the mats and become very interesting. And I think Verdum would submit Olynyk. So I'm going Verdum by submission. Oh, we got some guys in the chat. There we go. We'll get to you soon. Boom, baby. How's the mic sound? Sounding crystal clear or what? I hope so. Pettis versus Cerrone. Cerrone's obviously coming off of that real disappointing loss to Connor, and we've heard him talk about it, and I could see it. I was in his locker room. He just didn't look like he was there. Then he comes out later and admits it. He's like, "I wasn't there. I didn't show up. Donald was there, but Cowboy wasn't. This and that." And I understand it. It's a mental game, man. You got to be focused and you got to be cool, calm, collected, and just really in your zone the whole way through. A lot of emotions throughout fight week, a lot of nerves. They come and they go, and when they get you, sometimes they could break you, and you have to have that expertise in being able to direct those nerves and turn them into excitement, turn them into joy, turn them into whatever emotions you want to feel. Do you want to fight happy? Do you want to fight mad? Do you fight better when you're fired up? Whatever that is, get to that and find that and keep that. And that's the goal, throughout fight week for me. For me, it's enjoy it. It's have fun. It's be stay relaxed. Stay in my groove, keep calm. Spiritual, um feel like I'm enjoying that process. Like I'm happy to be there. Like this is what I love to do, and for everyone it could be different, but for Cerrone, he has to find that and keep that. And sometimes he's there and he's a demon, and sometimes he's not, and he breaks and he gets finished. And in the first fight, Pettis landed that body kick, and Cerrone has that issue with the body, and I could see that happening all over again. Pettis has been the more active guy. I know he's coming off a disappointing loss too, but he's been a lot more active and he's been in there. And I think he's gonna be a little bit more devastating on the feet. Cerrone looked great though against Ally Quinta and against Hernandez. And before the Ferguson fight and the Connor fight, he looked great. Even in the Ferguson fight, he was doing really well. So he still has it. And I know if he has that fire and he brings it, he's dangerous everywhere. And I think grappling wise, this would be an interesting fight if this fight hit the ground, because I think Cerrone's wrestling is so underrated. He doesn't use it every time, but when he does, he looks amazing. He's such a good wrestler. And Pettis is very dynamic on the ground, but I think Cerrone might have the edge there all together, with the wrestling and the taking the back and the grappling abilities. Cerrone's number 6 in the welterweight division, Pettis number 15. You gotta wonder what's gonna happen after this fight. Or both of these guys are kind of towards the end of their careers. I know Cerrone's probably never gonna retire. That guy will fight till he's like 90 years old. But we saw Pettis' younger brother go to Bellator. Is he on the end of his contract? I'm not quite sure. That would be interesting to know. I think the loser of this fight is gonna have to figure things out, man. It's gonna be tough, and it's gonna really do damage. Fortunately, though, Cerrone has that name and that UFC superstar recognition, where you know, no matter what happens with this guy, people love him. They're fan favorites, both of them, so I don't think, these guys losing is not the same as just an average Joe losing a fight. Both of these guys can keep their status for the most part, but mentally, psychologically, losing this fight could be a big deal for both of these guys, both coming off some bad losses. Um, Man, I don't know. As far as the fight goes, I feel like it will most likely stay on the feet. And I just can see Pettis utilizing those kicks again, mixing them up to the legs, to the head, to the body. And I just feel like one of them's going to land again. And I feel like he's going to hurt Cerrone again. And he's going to be able to finish the fight, probably by TKO or like referee stoppage, something like that. Man. And that fight is on the fucking prelims. How crazy is that? That's how you know this card is insane, when Cerrone versus Pettis is on the prelims. But hey, Greg Hardy and Jorgen De Castro is on the main card. Hey, look at that. Earned your stay, huh? No. Well, you know why they do certain things like that. They're opening up the main card with Greg Hardy, Jorgen De Castro. Um, Two heavyweights. Someone's probably going to go down. Someone's probably going to pump an inhaler in their ass in the middle of the round. Who the hell knows? Uh, you know, I would say Greg Hardy's the better athlete altogether. The guy's obviously, crazy athletic abilities, coming from the NFL. Uh, you know, People have said good things about him in the gym as far as his skills go for, essentially a novice fighter, someone who has not had much experience at all. Jorgen De Castro, though, hasn't had much himself. He's coming off a big knockout, though. Beautiful left hook knockout, backing up. And I think he could catch Greg Hardy, but I think Greg Hardy's going to be the faster guy. I think Hardy's learning Every time he goes out there, he's better. He's learning from, one of the best gyms in the world, ATT, a lot of great coaches, veterans in the gym. So he's in a great spot. Um, I think he's just gonna be the better athlete. He's gonna be faster. I think he's gonna come out and display a better style, more experience every time he's out there. He's not gonna blow his wad early and just let go and just brawl. He's getting smarter in there. He did step up and fight Volkov, and yeah, he lost, but he didn't get demolished, by someone who's a very experienced, well-rounded top heavyweight. So, I see Greg Hardy landing something, but probably late, maybe second round. I think he'll open up a little smarter, utilize his jab. He seems like he's been working on his jab a little bit more. He's going to utilize his speed, stay on the outside for the most part. Watch out for Jorgen De Castro's hooks. And I think he'll land something in the second round and probably hurt De Castro, TKO him, something like that. Let me know what you guys think. Um, man, Jeremy Stevens, Calvin Kattar, what a fight right here. I love listening to Jeremy Stevens talk. He's just got such a intensity about him, such a passion about him, and I love seeing that. And it's cool to hear, a veteran that's been in the game for so many years still have that fire, still have that passion. He had a great fight against Yair, you know. Um, and Yair is like a savage, young, flashy, hard guy to fight, but Steven showed that veteran status in there, and he showed, he had a little bit more heart towards the end. And he's fighting a guy in Calvin Kattar now who's young and has amazing boxing. He's got crisp hands. He's working on his range. He does really well with that straight right hand from out far. And as far as the striking goes in this fight, I would give the edge to Jeremy Stevens for power. I mean, the guy has some of the most Probably probably one of the most powerful guys, if not the most powerful guy at featherweight. He's a big featherweight. He's fought at 155 before. Calvin Kattar is no small featherweight either, though. He's pretty tall and lengthy for the weight class. I think size will not play much of a role in this fight, but I think reach will. I think Kattar, knowing that Jeremy Stevens brings those big uppercuts, those big overhand rights, he's gonna stay on the outside. He's gonna really utilize his jab. I think he's going to utilize a lot of calf kicks and leg kicks off of that jab as well. And I think Kattar is going to eventually be looking for that straight right hand to try to hurt Stevens. Stevens is a hard guy to hurt, though. If I'm Stevens, I'm pressuring Kattar. I'm looking for wrestling. I'm looking to kind of shock him and try to grapple a lot more than usual. If Stevens could start out and really land like something big, put a big barrage onto Kattar, back him up a little bit, disrupt his range and his rhythm and stuff like that. I think Stevens could have success. He's a good wrestler too. Another underrated wrestler because he's so known for his power and his striking. Man, I told this story before, but I've seen Jeremy Stevens warm up when I fought Barao. He was fighting Josh Emmett in Florida. The guy warms up like an animal. I mean, he beats the shit out of his partner. He's in like another zone, and he's just essentially sparring in the locker room, getting ready for his fight. So he's always in the zone. You could always expect Stevens to show up. But if you remember in the Aldo fight, he got dropped to the body. Maybe Kattar looks for something to the body like that. I just feel like the young guy with the more crisp striking, smarter game plan is going to win this fight, and that's going to be Calvin Kattar. I do think the fight will go the distance. I think because Cater is going to avoid those big shots, and he's just going to kind of pepper him, and he's going to kind of chew up the legs and utilize the jab very often. And he's great at range. Calvin Kattar understands his range. He understands how to land that big right hand. So, boom, Calvin Kattar by decision. What would it be, a boom breakdown without a couple sniffles, right? You guys know me by now. No cocaine, never in my life. Deviated septums all day. Francis Ngannou versus Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Man, somebody's going down. The arena is going to be quiet, but this fight is going to be loud, and it's going to be interesting to hear the slaps of these gloves hitting these guys' skulls. Man, I am probably not going to be able to go to sleep after this fight. I feel like after this fight, everyone's going to forget. Holy shit, we still have another fight to go. Uh, We still have another 2 fights to go. Wow, I'm, terrified because somebody's, you know, getting KO'd to oblivion. Um, this fight, the main key word for me is speed. Both of them have big power. Jairzinho has a lot more experience in, kickboxing, Muay Thai, whatever it is. But Francis has that speed, that power, that MMA style. And I feel like he has this confidence about him now. I think he's working on his cardio game. I think he's understanding himself as a fighter more and more, and that's dangerous. And Francis is a guy that, man, if he touches you, it's over. Jairzinho in that Alistair Overeem fight showed a little bit of weakness. Alistar was fighting a great fight, and I think he was winning the fight until he got caught in the end. And, that was kind of Alistar's mistake. Got lazy, got caught. Francis is going to be a lot faster, a lot more powerful early on. And man, I could see him knocking out Jairzinho pretty early. First round, I could see it happening. It's going to be dangerous. It's going to be disgusting. And it's going to make everybody forget all about this fucking COVID-19. Francis by knockout. Henry Cejudo, Dominic Cruz. Probably, man, it's hard to say which fight I'm more excited for. I'm really excited for this fight, man. Cruz is one of those guys that always impresses me as far as coming back from long layoffs and injuries like that. It's just so impressive. His style is just so unorthodox. His footwork, he makes it look effortless. I don't think people understand how hard it is to move like that, how hard it is to keep that movement, to keep your feet shuffling and to be bouncing around like that for 5 rounds. Cruz is an expert at it and he's dangerous with it. And it's really hard to see where everything's coming from. He's so good at MMA wrestling. Although Henry's the Olympic level wrestler, this is MMA. It's different. When you're incorporating strikes into your movement and level changes and angles and stuff like that, you can end up being the better wrestler than the wrestler. And, that happens all the time. I don't care if you have wrestling credentials and you're this national, state champion. If you don't utilize it in MMA the way it needs to be with strikes and setups and stuff like that, you know, sometimes it doesn't play out that way. Like, oh, you're just gonna out wrestle this guy because you're the better wrestler. You have more credentials. It's not always the true thing. In this fight, who knows, man? You could see Dominic Cruz out scrambling Cejudo. You could see him end up taking his back. You could see him maybe even land a couple takedowns off of strikes and surprise Cejudo. Um, I think Cejudo is going to have trouble getting a hold of Cruz, especially early. I think he's going to get frustrated with the range and the angles and the movement. Cejudo's got more power, more finishing power, I feel. But Cruz is going to be Cruz, and he's going to be Cruz for 5 rounds, man. And I think his cardio is going to be there. I think, that ring rust bullshit's not in his head. He don't care about that. It's going to be crazy to see Cruz come back and potentially become world champion again after all these injuries he's faced and all this time off, man. That's what makes it all the much better. And I hope we see it because I love seeing a comeback story like that, man. And I truly think Cruz could do it. I have a feeling that he's gonna do it. I think it's gonna be a decision. I think Cejudo is gonna be trying to find Cruz for most of the fight. He's going to be trying to get his range together and he's going to be trying to land those power shots after he gets frustrated. And it's not going to be a story of Marlon Moraes, Henry Cejudo, where, Cruz is not going to get tired. He's not going to gas out. He's not going to fade. He's not going to mentally break. He's going to stay in there the whole fight. He's going to keep his angles and his movement the whole fight. And when you have to deal with that, it's very, very frustrating. You saw him fight TJ Dillashaw. Man, a guy like TJ Dillashaw with his high level type of striking and his angles and his, different diverse combinations and stuff like that, he was missing Cruz left and right. And, Henry Cejudo is a way more basic striker, way more straightforward lefts, jabs, right hands, clinch, knees, stuff like that. You're not going to grab a hold of Cruz and hold him in place like that. It's just not the case. He's not going to get, tired and overwhelmed by stuff like that. So I could see Cruz landing those awkward hooks off of his angles, his movement. I could see him causing scrambling and out scrambling Cejudo. I could see him trying to prove a point and take Cejudo down, like I said. So I'm going with Cruz by decision, man. Surprising to many, but I think he's gonna get it done, man, by decision. because he doesn't have that knockout ability, so I don't think he's gonna knock Cejudo out or anything, or drop him like that. But I think he'll outpoint him for the 5 rounds. I think we might even see Cejudo tired for once. And then Tony Ferguson, Justin Gaethje, man. Keyword for this fight is murder. You know, Justin Gaethje was gonna fight him January 18th when all that was going through, only on like what 10 days, 12 days, 2 weeks notice. Now he got a little bit more of a camp. I think that benefits Gaethje. A couple of things I think benefit Gaethje in this fight. The early rounds, the first round, the second round, Gaethje finds that chin. Ferguson could be in trouble. The main fight that tells me this is the Pettis fight. Pettis didn't land flashy stuff on Ferguson early on. He landed punches. He landed big overhand rights. He landed big hooks. That's what Gaethje likes, man. And Pettis had Tony Ferguson a little wobbled, rolling, doing front flips, and Ferguson could weather the storm. But I think Gaethje has a different kind of power. That one punch power, that brute force coming through that punch. I could really see Gaethje landing something early. I don't know about you guys, but I have a weird feeling Gaethje could pull it off. And it gives me chills thinking about it because it's amazing, this fight, and Ferguson is, one of those guys that he can outwork everybody. He's so unorthodox. He's got the elbows. He'll cut you up. He'll spin on you with two different elbows from two different angles. He'll do front flips in there. His pressure is impeccable. I mean, he walks you down. He literally walks towards you fearless, just throwing these teeb kicks to your stomach and just constantly jabbing at your oxygen and trying to break you the whole entire time. And if Gaethje can't hurt him and get his respect and change the you know the rhythm and the direction of the fight early in the first 2 rounds, I think he'll have trouble. The first 2 rounds are going to be everything in this fight. You're going to know what's going to happen. If Gaethje hurts Ferguson in the first or second round, I think he could put a finish on him. I really do. But if Ferguson could weather any kind of storm early and start pressuring him, and you see Gaethje start to tire and start to fade a little bit, I think Ferguson's gonna run away with the decision. That's how I see it. But if I have to make a pick, I'm gonna go with Gaethje. I think he's gonna shock the world here. I think he's gonna get a TKO, or some kind of referee stoppage due to a knockdown and a follow up, and maybe Ferguson's not really defending himself intelligently or something like that. You know, I could see Gaethje pulling this off, man. I think he's gonna do it in the second round or maybe even the first. I think he's gonna go for it. The thing about Gaethje and Tony Ferguson is fearlessness. They don't care. They're not there taking their time, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't. They're going for the kill. They're trying to finish the fight. They're not afraid to let go and to pull the trigger and go for it. So, man, I could see Tony Ferguson winning a decision. Don't say I didn't say that, but I'm going with Gaethje. I think he's going to shock the world. I think he's going to get it done first or second round knockout or TKO. Holy shit. Can't believe I even said that. I see some questions in here. Uh, the MMA casual, boom. Good to see you, brother. Thank you. You as well. Connor Lodge, boom, baby. Boom. I've been blasting that underrated track lately. Probably your best track. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, that one's on YouTube. Go check it out. Underrated. Um, Audio is beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Brian and Maurice Spears should collaborate. Hey, Maurice, hit me up. I don't know what collaboration you're talking about, but let's do it. Pat Mack, Cejudo versus Cruz is the fight I'm looking forward to most. Hey, I don't know which fight to choose, man. Between that fight and Tony Ferguson and Gaethje, it's pretty much equal for me. But I think I'm most excited to see how Cruz looks. Especially after such a long layoff. EON001. Brian would sound dope rapping over a Maurice Spears beat. Hey, I'll check out his beats. Thank you. Joe Gravel, pump an inhaler. Yeah, watch out for the inhaler gate on this card. Castro is crazy powerful, though. I know he is, and these are just my opinions for this, but I mean, obviously, these fights can go either way. I'm not opposed to Castro winning by knockout either. I just think Hardy's gonna play it safe and outsmart him a little bit. He seems like he's getting smarter. He's gonna work on that jab, and he's gonna get the fight done. I think later on. Castro's pretty fast. Yeah, he has some speed too. That's true. Didn't realize how big Hardy was. Yeah, he's a monster. I saw some pictures and he looks like he cuts down to 265, so he's pretty damn big. Joe Gravel. Boom. The Castro's leg kicks are a problem if he does go outside of the first round, second round. The Castro, like you said, still has power moving backwards as well. Great matchup. Yeah, I agree. We need the mixtape. Hey, I'm working on it. I'm working on it, but I got a fight coming, so I got to put that aside for now. But I will have a full mixtape by I would say by mid-year, probably by August. Man, I'm gonna feel bad for Tony if he loses this. I know. What a shame, right? What a tragedy it would be if Tony Ferguson loses this and we never see the Khabib Tony fight. That would just suck. That's the only thing I'm worried about. Great breakdown. Covered all of it. Boom, every angle of how opponent can win. Thank you, thank you. I appreciate that. Um, Bull Roar MMA podcast. How much do you know about your next opponent, Hunter Azura, and how are you training? Well, I know everything I need to know about him. I let my coaches do most of the studying and the film work. I watched a couple fights, see some tendencies, and I just go in there and do me. Uh, if I go in there and be the best Brian Kelleher and have fun and let everything out that I do in the gym, then I believe in myself to achieve victory. That's how I look at it. Nikolai Bonchev, what about some new tracks of yours? Oh, well, like I said, I have a bunch that I just haven't released. I'm trying to figure out, which ones I want to release on the mixtape. We'll make a full mixtape, put it up on Spotify. But yeah, I got like 13 songs, man. But right now, focused on the fight. MMA Casual One. Like and subscribe. The breakdowns are great, Brian. Thank you. I appreciate that, man. Thanks a lot. If you guys give a thumbs up on the channel, that works. That's great. I appreciate that. Subscribe. I don't know how I only have 400, 500 subscribers. We need to get into the thousands and start getting some fucking advertisement and some sponsors, right? I mean, what else are we doing here? We're trying to be champions, right? Shout out to Tiger's Eye, baby, the crystal. And we got a little gift here from my brother's girlfriend. I don't know if any of you know the story of how the tiger's eye came alive in my life, but it's like my spirit crystal. But now we got the tiger's eye on the wrist as well with the hematite crystal bracelet, bringing me good energy for this fight coming up. Can't wait to fight. Thank you guys for tuning in to the Boom Breakdown. We'll be back. We'll talk. Maybe we'll talk a post-fight breakdown after UFC 249, and then I got my fight. So we'll be back after that. But thank you guys. Boom, baby.